Let's talk about Knights of Azure 2, Bride of the New Moon, developed by Gust and released in 2017. This is one of those action RPGs that feels like a 3-star cruise. It's not bad, it's not amazing, it just kind of exists. It does its job, nothing more. That said, some players might still find value here, especially if you're into fan service or curious about its unusual time limit system. The story kicks off with a trio of friends trying to stop an apocalyptic event tied to the Moon Queen. After a demon lord was defeated, its blue blood reigned across the world, turning most humans into demons. Now with the Moon Queen blocking out the sun, the world is stuck in an endless night, and when the moon finally wanes into a new moon, that's it. Eternal darkness. No one wakes up again. It's a decent premise, but don't expect much beyond that. The story does just enough to push you forward, but the dialogue feels basic, the acting is stiff, and character development barely scratches the surface. If you're here for narrative depth, you're looking in the wrong place. What does stand out though is the setting. The world feels genuinely bleak. Cities are empty, lifeless, like the apocalypse already happened. It creates this constant sense that things are hanging by a thread, and that actually works in the game's favor. Now let's talk about the most defining mechanic, the time limit. Each in-game day gives roughly 10 minutes of combat time. Once the day ends, the moon wanes. When it reaches a new moon, it's game over. Beat a boss and you can push the moon back a bit, buying yourself more time. If that sounds stressful, it can be, but it's also what gives the game its identity. Timers aren't new in gaming. Some of the most iconic titles have used them to great effect. For example, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Persona 5, and Super Mario Bros. All use time limits well. In Knights of Azure 2, it forces you to move with purpose instead of just mindlessly hacking through enemies. Another thing this game doesn't exactly hide is its fan service. The main cast is made up entirely of young women, complete with revealing outfits and noticeable jiggle physics. Whether that's a plus or a drawback depends entirely on your tastes. The art for this game is quite good, especially the character costume and design. The hotel that serves as their headquarters also looks very nice. However, the game lacks the extra layer of visual polish that most AAA games tend to have. Despite this game being PS4 Pro enhanced, I could see evidence of low resolution, plenty of aliasing, and the frame rate never hitting 60 FPS. I even ran into a crash when leveling up servants. The action combat is quite standard. You have a light attack and a heavy attack. You can string attacks in a combo, and the moves that come out depends on the combination of light and heavy attacks. There are a surprising number of mechanics. One of the more unique features is the synchronization with allies. If you hit the same enemy as your ally, you will trigger a double chase, and the affinity bar will fill. Once it's full, you can unleash a powerful attack. You can also bring both human companions and monster allies into battle, over 20 in total. Each has unique abilities, and some monsters can even unlock new paths in the environment. There's also a reincarnation system for monsters, letting you push their stats beyond limits. The equipment system though is pretty forgettable. It's there, but doesn't add much. The skill tree for the main character is more engaging and gives you a better sense of progression. Your default weapon is a one-handed sword, but your monster allies can transform into different weapon types temporarily. This helps mix things up and keeps combat from getting too repetitive. The game itself is fairly short, but you'll need to beat it twice to unlock everything. Level design is decent. Maps are compact due to the time limit, but they're structured more like interconnected networks, rather than straight lines. Enemy encounters are often triggered in enclosed space, sometimes locking you in until you clear them. Boss fights can be pretty easy and predictable, but there's still tension, since you can only save back at base. Lose a fight and you'll have to redo your progress. The warp points help reduce the frustration. Each of the 7 areas has its own aesthetic, but 7 isn't a huge amount of variety. There are some environmental hazards like mines, fireballs, and webs to keep things interesting. And of course, there are camera issues. In tight spaces, especially against large enemies, the camera can get stuck, leaving you swinging blindly. It's frustrating, and unfortunately pretty common in fast-paced action games like this. At the end of the day, Knights of Azure 2 is hard to recommend, not because it's terrible, but because there are simply better options out there. And at around 66 Canadian dollars on Steam, it's seriously overpriced for what it offers. That's especially disappointing because Gust has proven they can do better. If you have played one of their other titles, you know they're capable of much more. There are glimpses of that potential here, but it feels like action RPGs just aren't their strong suit. Dadozy Gaming gives Knights of Azure 2 Bride of the New Moon a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.